Hi everyone, Rebecca here. I hope you all are doing awesome, fabulous on this beautiful weekend in June. I am here at Homestead Village, and so far things are pretty smooth and calm out there. So I had a few minutes that I wanted to make a video for all of you. We recently did an Align survey, and about half of you all participated, so thank you so much. We have all of your feedback, and we are going to start to work on a work plan throughout the next 6 months before we resurvey you again. One of the things that I really think is foundational to satisfaction is good communication. And we all know that communication is a challenge. You've told us this before. You've told us this again in your survey. And so I have been working on a document that I hope will help to lay some groundwork and lay some foundation on how communication happens in the ACC and kind of set up a supervisory structure to know who is really responsible for what in the Apostle Center, because that can cause a lot of confusion and frustration when you don't know who you answer to. And I had this realization, and it occurred to me how frustrating this could be. I have one boss. I report to the president of the organization. And so there are very clear expectations about what I'm supposed to be doing and what I'm not supposed to be doing, and direction that I'm given. However, when you work in one of our households, there are multiple people that you're accountable to, in addition to the residents and families. So I have this document, and I just noticed that when you're seeing it on this video, it looks backwards, but I promise when it's printed and you see this in person, it won't be backwards. That we've started to review with the charge nurses and in some of the household meetings to give kind of a visual description of who is responsible for what areas and how the households really should function with communication and supervisory responsibilities. It's very difficult to get in front of each and every one of you, which is why I wanted to take just a couple of minutes in this video to review this document with you so that it is a starting point for ongoing discussions as we go along throughout the next year. So, what you see in this visual description are 3 households that represent the ACC. In a household model, each household has a self-sufficient team who works directly within the household together with support from nursing administration, department leadership, and other departments. So each household, represented by a blue circle, consists of residents and their families and the team members who work within the households. So although the caregivers and the licensed team members within the households are technically the only ones who officially report up through nursing administration, there are other people who work within the household, like dining team members, life enrichment team members, housekeepers, for example, who may report to other departments. Within the household, the LPN, as you can see written backwards here, is responsible for the day-to-day smooth operation and oversight for the household. The LPN has the authority in his or her household to direct the operations of the household throughout his or her shift. All 3 households are supported by the RN and the Apostle leadership team, but the way that we have it structured is that Flo, as a DON, and each of the ADONs, Michelle and Chelsea, have a household that they are primarily responsible for. So if normal issues come up in Young House, Flo, you can see the DON here is wrapping her loving arms around that household to help support the household through anything that they may be needing. For Ficus House, one of the ADONs is Michelle, and she is the nursing administration team member who is responsible for taking care primarily of Ficus House. And then for Radcliffe House, Chelsea is primarily responsible for that. What does that mean, primarily responsible? And basically what that means is for purposes of problem solving, coaching, feedback and development, which is our new performance evaluation model, investigations, corrective action, celebrations, developing policies and procedures, if there are regulatory compliance things that need to happen in the household, process changes in the household, because we know that each household may function a little bit differently, that they will work together with the LPN in the household to address any issues that arise with residents or family members or team members. Now, that's not to say that if Flo is on vacation, that there's no one to take care of Young House issues as they arise. Chelsea or Michelle will step in and help support that household in Flo's absence, and the same goes for the other households. And of course, there are some issues that rise to the DON level regardless of households, or administration regardless of what household it may be occurring in. So there are other departments such as Human Services and Environmental Services, and you can see them kind of here below, backwards again, as a supportive service that work to support the households, and they report to their individual departments. If there's any issues within a household that requires collaboration with another department like environmental services, the LPN should work with that department supervisor with assistance from their respective DON or ADON. I am hoping that this is making sense and helping to provide some clarification. So members of the ACC leadership team and members of other departments, we should be making every attempt when there is an issue or a concern or something that arises, making every attempt to work through this LPN within the household and raise our concerns with that individual. Why? Why is that set up that way? What is the reason for that? It's because the LPN in the household has the most direct authority and responsibility for the day-to-day, shift-to-shift interaction and functioning within that household. So you can see ACC leadership team here. These are kind of the members of ACC leadership team, and we are all providing a supportive service function to all three households. So you have the Director of Care Services and NHA, that's me, the DON and ADONs, our Assistant Administrator, Krista, our social worker, and scheduler. We all provide supportive functions across all three households. So the question that comes up frequently is, so who is really in charge? Because sometimes it can feel like everybody's in charge, or everybody thinks they're in charge. So we can kind of clear that up in this document. And by the way, on the flip side of this printout, this visual document that you're going to get, there is a description. And basically that's what I'm going over with you now, but you will have it for reference so that if you have questions or concerns about it, we can talk. So who is in charge? Who's really in charge? So if you're a caregiver, mostly the LPN who is in your household is the person in charge. Now, the RN and nursing administration, like myself, the assistant administrator, we're able to give direction, but every attempt is going to be made to work through the LPN of the household so that you don't have people who are constantly coming at you from every angle. We'll make every attempt to come through the LPN. Now, that's not to say that if I come around or Doug comes around and we see something that needs to be corrected immediately on the spot, we have a responsibility to do that, especially when it comes to safety of the team members or the residents. If you're an LPN, mostly the RN, who is supporting all 3 households, is in charge. But again, the nursing administration team and leadership team can give direction, and we'll make every effort to work through the DON or the ADON in those cases. If you're a life enrichment team member, your direct supervisor is the assistant administrator. However, the LPN within the household has a functional authority to give direction to life enrichment team members within the household. Now, if there is a discrepancy or a disagreement on a process or how things are done, like how we serve the meal to the residents, something like of that nature that is more of a process concern, that really needs to go through the supervisor, which is Krista, and the leader, the nursing administration leader of that household, so Flo, Chelsea, or Michelle. But if it's something related to resident care or the flow of the day, then the LPN has the responsibility and the authority to give direction to the life enrichment team members. Dining. We have dining folks who are working within the households. They report to Cura. Jimmy, who you probably all know, Jimmy, is their direct supervisor. However, the LPN does have authority to give direction to the dining staff as it relates to meeting the needs of the residents and the day-to-day smooth operation. So where this kind of draws the line is the LPN can say to the dining services staff, today's a little bit different and we need to hold off dinner service until such and such time so that we have time to get ready, or this is going on or that is going on. But if the dining services person is saying, oh, I'm feeling really ill, I need to go home, the LPN doesn't have the direct authority to say to the dining person, okay, you can go home for the day, go ahead and clock out, that's fine. That would be the responsibility of Cura because that's who they report to. I hope this is kind of, some of these examples are helping to make things a little bit more clear. Housekeeping. Housekeeping reports to the housekeeping supervisor, who is Deb Roth. However, the LPN does have authority to give direction as it relates to the day-to-day operations and needs of the household. So, for example, if there is an admission who is coming and the LPN knows there is admission coming, she has the authority to give a directive to the housekeeper and say, I need you to make the cleaning or the turnover of this room a priority and have it cleaned by 11 a.m. Okay. However, they wouldn't have the authority to completely change the regular housekeeping schedule or the times that they come in or leave or what rooms they clean when. So I hope that makes sense. So, in summary, the purpose of this visual kind of diagram is to lay the foundation for communication as well as supervision of each of our 3 households. And again, if you have any questions, this is definitely a work in progress. We've identified the need to really clarify some of these things in hopes to reduce some frustration that you all are feeling, and I know that you're feeling it, when it comes to the question of who is in charge, really. Thank you for listening. Thank you for taking the time to try and understand this and participate. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to find one of the nursing leadership team members. Have a great day, everybody.